Good evening and welcome to the 2026 Alumni Town Hall. On behalf of everyone at Kenyon, thanks for choosing to spend an hour online with us to learn the latest from the Hill this academic year. I'm Keith DiDonato, Vice President for Advancement. I had the pleasure of joining this great team last summer and have enjoyed meeting many of you on campus and at alumni events across the country this year. I'll be serving as your moderator this evening. We are joined by President Julie Kornfeld. In addition to having time for your questions at the end, she will preview a new initiative under development at Kenyon that builds on our historic strengths to connect more students to experiential learning that will prepare them to meet the challenges of today. Alumni will be critical to the success of this work, so we're looking forward to sharing it with you. Pashmina Murthy, Associate Professor of English, will also be joining us to share how faculty are thinking about this work and the Mellon Grant that she received to help implement it. We also have our Vice President for Student Affairs, Celestino Lemus, on hand for any questions. Also, Ronald Mejia, Co-President of Alumni Council, is here tonight to present some alumni awards to just a few of your peers, giving so generously of their time and expertise for Kenyon. And finally, several of you submitted questions in advance, which we appreciate. Because we have a nice large group here this evening, you are all on mute. Please send any questions you have to the chat called Questions Here in the chat, and a member of my team will make sure they are shared with us. And with that, it's my pleasure to turn things over to President Julie Kornfeld.
Good evening. Hi, everyone. It's so nice to see you. I'm certainly happy to be with you tonight. It's a busy, busy time here on campus. Commencement is 1 week away, next Saturday. So our seniors will be concluding their time as students and joining all of you as alumni. They have one more day, 2 more days with their finals, and then they go into senior week. So I have really enjoyed getting to know this class. They were sophomores when I joined Kenyon. Many of you may know we've started a tradition when we joined and hosting dinners for all the seniors. So any senior that wants to come and have dinner with Fred and I and Milo, of course, he's actually the big star of the show. So we have had come to Carmel for dinner. So we have hosted 8 dinners and had close to 300 seniors having dinner with us over the last couple of weeks. And it's a wonderful moment to share some of their memories with me and to talk about what they've loved about Kenyon and what they're excited about doing next. And it's a really special time. So, just to share with you a little bit of news from commencement, you may have heard that we are really excited about our commencement speaker this year. It's Oscar and Tony winner Paul Tazwell, who was the costume designer for Wicked, for Hamilton, Death Becomes Her, and many more shows. And we're really excited to welcome him to campus. The students are excited to hear from him. And he's not completely unfamiliar with Kenyon because he is the brother to our very own professor of film and drama, John Tazwell. And John will be busy hosting his brother, but he's also been very busy this semester. I'm going to share a couple of efforts that are involving alumni, which is where I will begin this evening. So we're going to share a couple of new initiatives and some alumni things that we're doing around the country. Let me first take time to make an early promotion for Kenyon's inaugural Women's Conference to be held on campus in late October. We have a really extremely dedicated group of alumni volunteers. They've been hard at work planning this concept, and everyone, all of you, are welcome to attend. The 2-day conference will celebrate some of Kenyon's amazing female alumni, and it will also offer many opportunities for connection with students who will be on campus during the conference and other graduates. You'll stay tuned. You'll be seeing a lot more about the conference soon, with registration opening in July. I want to also share with you that John has been working with some of the volunteers that are planning it, Emily Coons, Renee Peck, and Liz Vitalero, for an idea that he's involved with around a story booth where attendees who are coming to the conference will be invited to share Kenyon memories and reflections that Professor Tazwell and then his students will use to produce something really great in the fall. So it'll be a really nice way to capture some memories from those that are attending the conference. So I'm going to pause and just take a breath and say, I'm going to give you a preview and say there's a lot of ways that alumni can interact with us, advise, students and support students, and I'm going to share a couple of those. Really excited to share with you, just to keep talking about John Taswell. He is going to kick off a new initiative and a new undertaking for Kenyon. That's part of what we're calling the Kenyon City programs that is launching later this month, actually May 31st, with a pilot program in Los Angeles. This is a 2-week program that is, we're really excited to do this. It's a 2-week program where the students will spend the morning in class with Professor Taswell, and then in the afternoon they will spend the days in the cities. It's an intensive screenwriting course that Professor Taswell will lead, and then the afternoons and evenings will be exploring LA, but most importantly about building professional networks and making personal connections that with a lot of different kinds of activities like job shadowing and studio tours and panel discussions and one-on-one mentoring sessions and conversations. And we have a really excited group of Kenyon parents and Kenyon alum who are involved in the film and media industry, who will be hosting our students and talking to our students and allowing those students who are excited about working in that industry to have an opportunity while they're there, not only to learn with Professor Taswell, but to build their professional network. I was there in March when we kicked off the program. We hosted a breakfast and had 35 alum come to the breakfast who were really excited to offer opportunities for our students. So the students will leave LA with a professional network as well as a creative project for their portfolio. They'll have enhanced professional skills and connections that will help them as they finish both the 2-week program and then launch their professional careers at some point after graduating from Kenyon. So those connections will be with alumni, people like you, as well as Kenyon parents. And we're excited. We have a lot of really talented Kenyon people in Los Angeles at talent agencies, at Walt Disney, at Netflix, at Amazon Studios. Really exciting opportunity. And this is what's great about this is a pilot. This will be our first one. And our hope is that we will launch similar type of programs with different themes in New York, Washington, D.C., Chicago, and Columbus. The New York one is actually going to be planned, I think, this week. There's a kickoff meeting in New York City. And those will have different focuses. And so in New York, the focus will be on finance and business as well as arts and publishing. So stay tuned for more information. And it's a really wonderful way for our students to help both learn with our faculty and connect with alumni and build their professional network. So more to come on that, but wanted to share that with you because it's a really exciting. So these programs are all part of a larger initiative, and many of these things you've heard me talk about in previous town halls and in other events. You might have heard that it's a bit of a challenging time in higher education, and what a lot of the work that we're really doing is to focus on helping articulate the value proposition of a Kenyon education and to really focus in and hone on both leaning into our mission and our strengths, but also making more visible the wonderful opportunities that a Kenyon education provides. So while it is a tough moment, we are well positioned to evolve and to meet the moment, and we're working very hard on lots of different fronts to make sure that our students are well prepared for the world that we live in now. I think you all know, I do not have to convince this audience of the power of a liberal arts education, and why the critical thinking and the writing skills that you honed here have to continue to be a point of emphasis for us and a point of pride, right? But it is also a challenging moment, and we have to compete very much for each of our students, and the expectations of our students and their families and employers are changing, and we must really be evolving to meet those needs again while staying very true to our mission and to the rigorous and academic liberal arts program, but making sure that our students see connectivity to the world beyond Kenyon as well. And that we can be vocal and proud about the many ways that a Kenyon education is still the best way, arguably even more important in the world that we live in today than it has been. So part of what we're really working on is thinking about how we help our students make more direct, correct connections between what they learn in the classroom or what they're learning in the lab with their professors and how that connects to their aspirations for life after Kenyon, whether that's working or going to graduate school or service opportunities. So we're really working to make sure that we put the scaffolding in place so that every student will be able to build a portfolio of hands-on experiences that position them to think not just about their major, but how what they're learning across many disciplines and across many classes are helping to unlock their future of consequence, right? So the times are challenging. But we are being very bold in our thinking and nimble in our planning and strong in our belief that Kenyon produces alumni like you who change the world around them for the better. One of the things you've heard me talk about Kenyon Keys, and we have moved and evolved to call that now Kenyon Keys. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that, and I'm going to invite Professor Murthy to join me and talk a little bit more about that. But what this really is an initiative for every student that will help them, support them to have experiences that matter while they're here at Kenyon, skills that transfer, and help them to create a personal narrative that resonates in the world today. The strategic initiative has grown out of many years of planning, strategic planning several years ago, and then building on a comprehensive planning process last fall. It also incorporates our market research for what we know that students and their families want and need from their education today. So Kenyon Keys, think with me for a minute, will unlock, get it? Kenyon Keys, unlocking. There we go. The Kenyon Keys will help to unlock the connections between what students learn in the class and the dynamic forces that are facing and shaping our world today, right? So we are organizing them around interdisciplinary themes, things like data, globalization, democracy, creativity, health, and sustainability. They are not meant to replace majors. They are actually complementing any major, or if it's for all students, no matter what major they're in or what minor they're in, doesn't have additional requirements for students. We don't want to make things more challenging for students, but we want them to be able to have a visible path through their education that allows them to create a portfolio of courses, academic coursework, internships, and other experiences from research to volunteering to service to study abroad that help them really build this portfolio of experiences that connect their academic and their career interests with the impact that they also hope to have in the world. We know that our students come here with exciting interests about how they can make an impact in the world, and we want to foster and support those opportunities. Our faculty have been working very enthusiastically to integrate or amplify these opportunities across with their own work and their own scholarly endeavors and research. And I'm going to turn things over to Pashmina so she can talk a little bit more about the work that she's been doing with faculty.
Thank you very much, Julie. Good evening, everyone. You can see me here. I'm Pashmina Murthy. I apologize. I don't normally sound quite so serious, but in case you needed proof that this is finals week, my voice should say it all, isn't it? I'm really delighted to meet you all virtually. I hope I get a chance to follow it up with an in-person meeting at this or an upcoming reunion weekend. I've only been at Kenyon for 14 years, which means I haven't had the pleasure to teach many of you here today. So I am going to talk a little bit about the Kenyon Keys, and let me actually share my slides with you here. Okay, so the Kenyon Keys, as Julie mentioned, is really a space for us to give students a holistic campus experience, but also provide them with keys to a post-Kenyon professional life, right? This is something that we've been building towards. It is something that we see as a way to lean into what makes Kenyon such a special place, what makes a Kenyan education so very valuable. There are three principles that are guiding everything that we do, and these principles we see as foundational to what Kenyan is. The first is a cross-disciplinary exploration. We are doubling down on a liberal arts education, right? A liberal arts education is a space for you to be able to explore across different disciplines, but also gives you the kind of deep learning and training where you get to ask those questions. Again, this is an audience where I don't have to explain that. You sort of know this already. A second part of it is experiential learning. And this is in terms of both things in the class and outside. And importantly, we talk so very much about the Kenyan community, about being a community here in Gambia. And this is a way for us to foster that, to make that something that is not just a happy byproduct of being at Kenyan, but an active, intentional aspect of it. So I'm not able to move across these slides anymore. Let me see. There we go. First comes through after all. Here are the components of these three, the ways in which we are embedding those three principles that we have through student research. And so this is where we talk about the cross-disciplinary explorations through the curriculum, through summer research, disciplinary depth in terms of the majors and concentrations, but also the kind of cross-disciplinary focus that you have. The experiential learning, we're getting that in the classroom. That is a really valuable experience, as we know. But it's also about experiences that take place outside the classroom, right? That could be in the form of internships. It is in the form of off-campus study. It is in the form of any other kinds of engagement, conference presentations, and so on. And finally, to create this community inside and outside, to maintain those community links on a daily basis. So here we're actively thinking now about co-curricular opportunities. You may have heard about the travel embedded courses, for instance, but also, and I'll have a chance to talk very briefly in a second, about other kinds of work that is connected to the class, an extension of the work that students are doing in the class, but not entirely reducible to it, but also the kind of volunteer work. Now, if any of this seems familiar to you, if you've had the opportunity when you were a student at Kenyon to take advantage of one or more of these things, that is part of it, right? You recognize how transformative it is, and this is what we want to do. So one thing we're doing here is taking stock of what we are already doing, and importantly, doing well at Kenyon. And then the second thing, to speak to Julie's point about giving students a portfolio of experiences, it is about scaling up. It is about making sure that what we do well, we make available to every student who wants that kind of opportunity, right? And then the third part of it is to create new programs that we don't have thus far, but that we want students to be able to experience this so that when they leave Kenyon, they feel prepared for a life after that. So here are the keys. Here are the 6 themes that we were kind of talking about. And this is a way for us, you might think of these keys as broad umbrellas under which we are really grouping together many of these classes, these experiences, these forms of community building, and so on. These, you'll notice every single one of them can cut across the different divisions that we have on campus, from data and technology to making and knowing, sustainability and society, health and community, global and local, democracy and publics. This leans into some of the strengths that Kenyon has. The Center for the Study of American Democracy, the Kenyon Review, the GUND, but it also then builds on that. It takes advantage of, for instance, Science Saturdays that our students participate in, the works that they do with Knox Community Hospital, the other kinds of things that students are doing through environmental studies and elsewhere. So what I'm going to do briefly is give you a sense of the kind of programming that we're building just for this upcoming year. This is not going to be a comprehensive list. When I set out a call for proposals, we received 56 proposals from faculty that range across classes that they're already teaching, the kinds of experiences that they already have in many of their courses, but also new kinds of ideas for coursework, cross-disciplinary, team-taught classes, collaboratively designed classes, and so on, in addition to other kinds of programming opportunities, some of which they've had in their classes, but they want to make available to more, and others which they haven't necessarily, we don't currently have at Kenyon, but we want to now make available to our students. So I'll go through these quickly because I know time is of the essence. And while, as I'm sure you remember, Teachers are not known for their brevity. I am going to try to keep this to a few slides only. So I'll give you an idea. For example, a colleague of mine in the studio art department who's going to be putting together a sculpture park project in Mount Vernon to turn a park into to have public art available there. She's going to be working with students on this. So here students are getting the hands-on experience that goes beyond the work they produce for class, for the kind of course credit in itself. You'll also notice that each of the slides I have at the bottom right, you'll see the keys to which they actually fit. And it is our goal, this is again an intentional aspect, that part of that cross-disciplinary focus is ensuring that any one kind of opportunity that is available speaks to more than one kind of key as well. So that you may be someone who's really interested in sustainability and perhaps our environmental studies major, but this too would be of interest to you. You may be a studio artist and therefore this is of interest to you, but now you are also getting to think about sustainability in a whole new way. My colleague in the English department is bringing a Pulitzer Prize finalist, Vohini Vara, to Kenya next semester. This is a really exciting idea. We're looking at not just her novel, The Immortal King Rao, but more recently, Vohini Vara has written Searches, Selfhood in the Digital Age, that is grappling with AI, particularly from a creative perspective, what that means, how that might look. And it's a series of essays. So we're looking at facilitating readings among students, discussions as a build-up to Vohini Vara's visit. Professor Getzler in chemistry will be bringing Taylor Eckert. Dr. Eckert is at the National Laboratory of the Rockies and will be doing a short course, hopefully in the spring, in the second week of spring break, on life cycle assessment, a really valuable tool to help students measure the different kinds of toxicity of greenhouse gas emissions and so on and so forth across different policies and procedures that we have. We don't see this as credit bearing, but it's something that can be available to students that enhances the work they've been doing in the classes. Two of our colleagues in English and studio art are going to be putting together a makerspace with a letterpress. So here you see a kind of composing table that's available here, but this is connected to their classes on book history, on typography, but then also again to make this available as workshops in a range of classes, but also potentially to have open studio hours for the community itself. Nancy Powers, who is in Center for Study in American Democracy. For some of you, this may be familiar. This was something that the CSAD had run several years ago, a program called From the Hill to the Hill, which took students to Washington, D.C. So we imagined this as a 3-day trip for about 45 students over fall break to take them to DC, not just to the Capitol, not just to learn about democracy, but to also take them to museums, to take them to galleries, to let them learn about the city itself. A really valuable experience for international students, but for students around the country who may not have visited there before. For these are kinds of opportunities that we will have students who are already interested in these issues, and this is sort of leaning into that. But importantly, we're curating these opportunities also for students who come to Kenyon thinking, I think I'm interested in this, but I don't yet know what else is available. What else can I do with this? Here is a way now for them to forge connections across the range of interests that they all have. And finally, I want to talk about the GUND is putting together the Artists in Action. We're going to be bringing the artist Ben Gold. He actually came to Kenyon for a visit this past Monday to do a site visit, to meet with faculty and staff across campus, to think about ways of collaborating with them, with their classes. But importantly, we'll also be working with students on doing a kind of collaborative art project at Kenyon. And the last thing what we're doing is a way to kind of build that community, a series that we're calling Columbus Saturdays, We're going to combine it potentially with Mount Vernon Thursdays and an occasional Cleveland Saturday or a Cleveland Sunday as well. But this is a way for us where faculty can take students to bookstores, to the Columbus Symphony, to museums and galleries, give them a chance to know each other, but also think about how special our location is at Kenyon itself and in central Ohio. So I hope this gives you a certain kind of idea. I'm going to stop sharing this here. I hope this gives you an idea of some of the kinds of programming we've done. It's a little hint of some of the programming that you will come across. And I know the Office of Communications is putting together a wonderful website, which will give you a sense of the ongoing programming as we develop it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pashmina. I hope you go and get some rest now. Um, it is exciting to see all of this come together. And as you heard, in a lot of ways, we're viewing keys really as a way to amplify and organize the amazing opportunities that we have here and throughout our network, as well as to expand and build new opportunities for our students. And I think you've got a good taste of examples of some of those things that are just in the works and many more to come. I want you to feel like you can help us by raising your hands, particularly when you know about internship opportunities within your networks. These are really important for our students. Nationally, it's one of the most productive things a student can do in terms of really connecting what they're learning in school and in the classroom in college, and then comparing, really being able to extend those skills into the community, into the workplace, into the professional environment is having an internship. Many of those nationally, 43% of those internships are unpaid, and there are not nearly enough of them to meet the demand. So, despite the fact that they're this critical component. So we've been working really hard. The Career Development Office has been able to use donor funds in many ways to support Kenyon preferred internships at places in Columbus, at organizations like Stonewall Columbus in New York, at the New York Stage and Film nonprofit. Another pair, we have students at the New Harmony Project, which is a national organization based in Indiana that nurtures writers. So we're embedding these internships all around the country, here in the community in Knox County, in Columbus, and in the many, many cities where you are located. So please, we're really working very hard, and be in touch with us or the CDO, Lee Schott, many of you whom you know him, as we seek to create even more Kenyon preferred internships for each of the 6 keys, the themes that you had. Using the keys is a really wonderful way to connect students to internships and opportunities in areas that are of interest to them, that go just beyond their major, but maybe in areas that are of interest to them in the world. So we're beginning with 5 of these in each of the themes, and we're going to be scaling them up with a target of 20 of them per theme. So you can imagine we will have 120 keys related internships in a very short period of time. So it's very exciting. So while we're on the topic of alumni assisting us in our efforts, let me pause and turn things over to Ron Mejia, co-president of Alumni Council. He is going to present 2 alumni awards tonight.
All righty. Thank you, President Cornfield. Um, and greetings and salutations, alumni. I was scrolling through the pictures and I've seen a lot of familiar faces. And so I'm so glad for you all to be here. And it's my absolute pleasure to be here tonight representing Alumni Council. And just as a reminder, we are your elected alumni representatives who meet several times throughout the year to serve as advocates and liaisons for alumni with the college. And so now, for why we're here. We have 2 awards to present tonight. The rest are going to be given out at reunion weekend in just a few weeks, right around the corner. And if for some reason you cannot make reunion, you'll be able to see those online and on our social medias after. Tonight, we're going to announce the winners and share a little bit more about them, and then invite them to speak briefly about their work with Kenyon. To begin, we have the Ann J. Robinson Award, which is given annually to the Outstanding Regional Alumni Association President, recommended by the alumni and parent engagement staff, and endorsed by members of the Alumni Council. Tonight's winners are Ali Sorelli and Nathan Grosh, both class of 2019, who have brought energy, creativity, and deep Kenyon pride to the Boston Regional Association. Following the departure of a longtime volunteer leader and past Ann J. Robinson Award recipient, Last year, they stepped up to guide the association with enthusiasm and fresh ideas for alumni engagement. Since then, they have organized several successful events in the region, most recently, a family-friendly candlepin bowling gathering that drew an enthusiastic crowd. As a Kenyan couple, they embody the spirit of connection and community that makes our alumni network just so special. Allie and Nathan, would you like to say a few words?
Thank you so much. This is such an honor. As Ronald mentioned, we met at Kenyon and really share a love for the place and are just so eager and happy to give back.
Yeah, and
And
it's really fun to get to make connections between Kenyon alumni in the area as well. It's not a really challenging thing to do when you're really just enjoying and looking forward to getting to know and meet all these new Kenyon alumni in the area.
and we were very sad to see Katie go, especially because she was actually my upper class counselor when I was a freshman and she was a senior. But it was wonderful to try to fill her shoes and make the most of it. So thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks. This is so nice.
Awesome, awesome. Well, y'all are doing an incredible job. And I also want to mention that Kenyon has alumni associations all over the country, and chances are there's one near you. They host happy hours, informal gatherings, even go to baseball games. All fun, low pressure ways to meet Kenyan people near you. And now, next up is the Kenyan to Career Ambassador Award, which is given each year by the Career Development Office in recognition of significant contributions to the professional development, career exploration, and postgraduate success of Kenyan students and alumni. Tonight's winner is Chris Eaton of the class of 1989. Chris is a member of Kenyon's Board of Trustees in addition to his volunteer work with the CDO. In nominating him, Lee Scott, the Dean for Career Development, said, Chris's commitment to supporting the CDO is matched only by his dedication to Kenyan students and alumni. A long time, tell me how I can help partner. He consistently follows through on his commitments, meeting one-on-one with students, participating in every volunteer opportunity we suggest, and sharing his innumerable perspectives and wisdom from a lifetime of working. I understand Chris is also with us tonight. Congratulations. Would you like to say a few words, Chris?
Well, thank you very much, and thank you very much for the honor and the shout out. I guess I'll stay in the proper vein. The CDO is a wonderful tool that our Kenyan students have, from award-winning ways to get them to connect to the CDO from their very first day on campus, all the way through following up postgraduate. The CDO gives them a tool to help find the right path for them in their post-Kenyan life. I have been honored to be part of a number of different efforts, talking to students being my absolute favorite. So if you're interested in this, if you want to meet some incredibly bright people and you just want to talk and learn about what they're doing and maybe give a touch of perspective in your life, please reach out to Lee and volunteer. And as was said earlier, if you have a position or an internship that might be of interest to a Kenyan student somewhere, and that could be pretty much anywhere, please also do reach out, because it is a fantastic tool for our students and it's a way we can give back, giving to Kenyan in a way that's a little different than maybe you might have thought of. So thank you for this honor, and I really appreciate it. And let me hand it back to you.
Thank you, Chris. And so, on behalf of my fellow volunteers on Alumni Council, congratulations to all the winners. I look forward to handing out more in person at reunion weekend in just a few weeks, and I look forward to seeing a lot of you on this call today.
Well, thanks, Ronald, for joining us tonight and to present these awards. And congratulations again to the award winners. We truly have some amazing alumni here at Kenyon. You've heard Julie talk about the many ways that alumni can be helpful with our efforts to connect students to experiential learning. I want to echo my thanks to Chris and all of his work for Kenyon in this area, and to Allie and Nathan for representing and convening Kenyon in Boston. Thank you. Ronald is so good at handing out awards that we've asked him to run it back at reunion weekend here in a few weeks. Thank you, Ronald. So anyone attending can look forward to that at soiree on Saturday night, a reunion weekend. One other effort under the heading of alumni expertise that I also wanted to be sure to mention is another new program we're calling Experts in Residence. So this fall, starting in 2026, We're looking forward to bringing back a few alumni to meet with students, to offer lectures and office hours, and just generally be a short-term, easily accessible resource for students. We are extremely fortunate to receive an investment from an alumnus and our current board chair that has really allowed us to start planning for this initiative. Before I turn it back to President Kornfeld to share some exciting details on that momentum, I did want to remind folks to send any questions to the questions here in the chat. I promise there's a person there. I know her personally, and they'll collect everything and get it to us at the end. Julie?
Okay, more talking from Julie. So some time for good news. Some of you may have read about our Third Century Founders effort, which we launched last April. This 2-year effort was conceived by a member of our Board of Trustees who wanted to invite alumni and parents to help accelerate our efforts to grow Kenyon's permanent resources. Like all colleges and universities, Kenyon has an endowment, kind of like our own 401k, and we spend roughly 5% from that endowment income each year. The bigger the endowment, obviously, the bigger the income, and the less reliant we are on tuition dollars, and the more students we can admit, regardless of their ability to pay. Investments in the endowment also provide permanent funding sources for some of the work you've heard about tonight. A few weeks ago, we celebrated 21 donors to our Third Century Founders effort, who each made 7-figure gifts on the way to our $100 million goal. And we're fortunate to be joined by some of them this evening. There is understandably a small group of people in a position to make these investments, and we're incredibly grateful to them for leading their way. This generosity is extraordinary, and it demonstrates their faith in our vision for the future. So at a time where people are questioning the value of higher education, the investment of these third century founders really speaks loudly about the vital importance of what we do here, more than anything we could possibly say. So thank you to all of our donors, and we will continue to share updates on this exciting initiative with you. Back to you, Keith.
Thank you, Julie. As you know, the endowment is just one piece of the Kenyon funding picture. Your gifts to the Kenyon Fund, including class gifts leading up to reunion weekend and those you made during Kenyon Together in March, are also very critical for Kenyon. Just as many of you are showing your enduring connection to Kenyon by being here tonight, we are grateful to everyone who gives at any level to the Kenyon Fund. And now we're going to go back to Julie for a few high points and then get to your questions. Julie.
Okay, so we started with the big picture, and then you got to hear from Professor Murthy about some of the work that we're doing. But I want to also share a few highlights of things that have been happening on campus and how things are going on campus. For the second year in a row, Kenyon has been named a top producer of Peace Corps volunteers, with 13 alumni serving in 11 countries around the world. We rank third among small schools, with students drawing on the critical thinking and the communication skills they honed here to tackle challenges all around the globe. I've been able to talk to a few of our new graduating seniors who are doing the Fulbright program next year, and it's very exciting. Also in February, Kenyon was recognized as a top producer for the Fulbright. So we are a top producer of Peace Corps volunteers and then also the Fulbright student program. And this is the 19th time in the past 21 years that puts us at the top 18 baccalaureate institutions nationally. So really impressive. We take a great deal of pride in 2 decades of sustained success of Kenyon students in winning support from the Fulbright program. We do provide a tremendous amount of support for the students as they plan for their projects, and we're very successful. And it reflects both the high caliber of their academic work while they're here at Kenyon and the global range of their curiosities. It's super impressive and exciting. And then we know they're going to do a wonderful job, not only representing Kenyon, but the United States when they are overseas. Staying abroad here, over spring break in March, we had students in an art class called Art, Money, and Museums that traveled to Belgium and the Netherlands, historic centers of the European art market, to continue their studies outside of the classroom by engaging with experts in the art world on their home turf. Assistant Professor of Art History, Catherine Calvin, led the trip. She teaches the class. It's a semester-long class that explores the complex history of art, money, and museums from the 15th century to the present. The students then, during spring break, traveled with their professor. They visited places like The Hague, Rotterdam, Antwerp, Brussels, and Ghent due to their importance in the history of the European art market, and they were treated to special access along the way thanks to John Porter of the class of 79, who's an alumnus living in Belgium. He arranged for the students to see certain museum storage areas and conservation spaces and meet a wide variety of museum professionals. And it's important to know, because of the generosity of donors, we were pleased to be able to offer this travel to all the students in the class at no additional cost to them, thanks to the donor funding. And for many of the students who I've heard talk about the experience and show us pictures since they've been there, many of them, we purposely offer these travel embedded courses to first and second year students who may never have had yet the chance to travel abroad, so that they can go with a class and have the experience and gain confidence, and then perhaps expand their trial opportunities to study abroad later in their time at Kenyon. So it's a wonderful opportunity. The students have incredible opportunities to learn and study pieces that they're reading about in textbooks here in Gambier, and then get to see them in person when they're abroad. So back to campus. Last month we had Honors Day. We presented honorary degrees to 3 people: Mariana Ruth Cook, a photographer and a parent with the class of 2017; LaShonda M. Robinson, a member of the class of 2009; and Jim Parker with the class of 1981 and a parent of the class of 10. The full details of those honors can be found on our website. 2 faculty members were singled out for their dedication to their craft of teaching with the Trustee Teaching Excellence Award: Brad Hostetler, an associate professor of art history, and Siobhan Fennessy, the Philip and Sheila Jordan professor in environmental studies and also a professor of biology. Siobhan joined Kenyon in 1998 and has served as chair of the biology department, co-director of the environmental studies program, and co-director of the Brown Family Environmental Center. She's retiring this year, and we were delighted to see her conclude her Kenyon career with this wonderful honor. On the athletic front, switching gears, we will have a new athletic director, Jason Imperati. He joins us next month from Lawrence University, a D3 college and institution in Appleton, Wisconsin. I know that he'll be excited to meet many of you at homecoming this September. It has been a really fun and successful spring in our athletic program. Our softball team is making its return to postseason play in the NCAC tournament tomorrow night, they're playing Wittenberg tomorrow night. After winning the NCAC Conference Championships, which was Sunday afternoon, which was very exciting. I got to see that. Women's tennis is going to the NCAA tournament later this week, as is the men's tennis team and the men's golf team. These students are juggling competitions and finals week and the end of the year, but we really, as you know, have multi-talented students, and we're all cheering for them. It's been a wonderful end of the spring season. Staying in athletics for one more moment, this week we announced that Kenyon will be adding men's and women's varsity squash in the 27-28 academic year. Many of you may know we already have the squash courts here. When we redid the Lowry Center, we have squash courts, so it is an exciting opportunity for us to capitalize on that, on our beautiful courts. This will bring the department's total to 25 sports, including 13 for women and 12 for men. This summer, many of you know we have summer programs here, Camp 4, and we have Kenyon Review has sponsored the Young Writers Workshops for many, many years. We're launching a new summer opportunity for high school juniors and seniors to experience Kenyon and to take college level courses taught by Kenyon professors and live in our beautiful newly constructed Winkler Hall, which if you've seen it, it will be it's quite lovely. So if any of you have high school students out there, we look forward to holding these every year as a wonderful opportunity for our students to meet Kenyon and produce college level work. I will say this is a very intentional new program for us. We know that when students have the opportunity to spend time on campus, they fall in love with Kenyon, and they're more likely to apply to Kenyon. So we want to encourage high school students to be exposed to the liberal arts, to be exposed to our beautiful campus, and then invite them to join us as students when they graduate high school. So that's an exciting new initiative for us. I will share a little bit of bittersweet news that after 5 years of leadership at the Gunn Museum, the Kenyon's nationally accredited and world-class contemporary art museum, Daisy DeRosier will be joining Tate Modern. So quite a wonderful honor for an incredible director here to be joining an internationally renowned museum. She'll be serving as the Britton Family Curator at Large for North America, and that begins on June 1st. This is obviously a tremendous opportunity for Daisy, and we are not surprised that the Tate has recognized her talent. At Kenyon, she has done amazing work and seen the Gund through its accreditation as a museum. She's helped raise its profile. And the good news is that she will continue to remain engaged with the Gund and the college, continuing to guide our artistic and curatorial mission. So excited for that opportunity for her and for us. And finally, as you may have heard, we are also in the middle of a national search for our next provost. So Jeff Bowman, who was previously associate provost and then elevated to provost in 2020, announced his plans to step down and return to teaching history here. Jeff has had an eventful tenure, serving through the pandemic and then serving as interim president before I was hired. So he is a wonderful and colleague. We're excited that he's remaining here at Kenyon and returning to be the wonderful teacher that he is. I will say we are in the midst of a very robust national search. We've had a lot of strong interest in the position. Just completed 2 days of Zoom interviews with candidates from all around the country who are excited about the opportunity here at Kenyon. And I know it is a reflection of who we are and as a top tier academic institution. So it's been really gratifying to see the interest and excitement for the kind of teaching and learning we do here at Kenyon. Before he concludes the service, you will get to see Jeff. For those of you who are having, he will have one final hurrah at reunion again, reunion weekend, where he has agreed to step in for me. I'm sorry, but I will not be able to attend reunion weekend this year. My own son is graduating from college the same weekend as reunion weekend. So while I will be here for Kenyon's commencement, and I'm grateful that his commencement has not, it does not conflict with Kenyon's commencement, I will not be here for union weekend. So I know you will forgive me for that. And I will see you next year at reunion weekend.
Well, we
Keith,
will certainly miss you there, Julie. But we know many of our alumni know Jeff well, and we'll be excited to see him in a few weeks. I also wanted to mention that registration for the Women's Conference will open on July 20th. And thanks to a generous gift from an alumna, we have a limited number of hotel stipends available. So please register if you're able to come back for what will be a terrific women's conference. And now we'll turn to your questions. So to begin, we had a couple submitted asking how Kenyon is adapting to the prevalence of artificial intelligence. Julie, can you share a little on how Kenyon is thinking about and addressing this area?
Well, I'm not surprised by the question since this is a topic on everyone's mind. And certainly it's something that we have been talking about for quite some time, and I'll talk about a couple of different areas. But it is, we know that I will say that before I share a little bit about the kinds of things that we're doing here, I think one of the things that we will continue to see more and more is that the value of a liberal arts education is going to be made even more powerful by this new technology, because what we are doing here is training people who know how to think critically and to solve complex problems. And what we will continue to do is lean into the liberal arts as a way to prepare citizens who are flexible and nimble and know how to communicate effectively and live in a complex world. So this is certainly a tool that we want to be sure that our students are learning to use ethically, responsibly. It has implications for the environment and lots of other components, but we want our students to be proficient and understand how to use this tool, but we also want to continue to lean into our education because it is what will allow them to be empowered by this tool and to be the best citizens that they can be. But I want to say that a couple of things. Here at Kenyon, we've been working on AI for quite some time. So many of you will know that we have, the world kind of became aware of AI in 2022. But we have a director here, Kate Elkins, who's director of the Integrated Program in Humane Studies, which many of you know, and John Chun, who's a visiting professor at Humanities. And they co-founded the Human-Centered AI curriculum at Kenyon in 2016. So it gives you an idea that we were thinking about this for quite some time. They got a 6-year head start, and they are recognized nationally. Elkins is recognized nationally as an AI researcher whose work has focused on bias detection, sentiment analysis, and the ethical evaluation of AI models. She has received a National Endowment for the Humanities Teaching Professorship for Curriculum Innovation. And Chun, who's a co-founder of the world's largest privacy and anonymity platform, has also built a career on issues like this. So when conversations about AI often swing between excitement and alarm, Kenyon approach has been we're not overly fearful, we're not naively optimistic, we're leaning into this as a tool across the entire college, certainly in the humanities and across the whole curriculum, and really building a model that thinks about how we intentionally expose all of our students across the entire curriculum. Many of you know, we hired a new director of computing here, and we really are trying to build a new and exciting model for computing education that really thinks about an interdisciplinary computing program that is thinking about students across multiple disciplines from every field, thinking about artificial intelligence and the ethical grounding and flexible thinking of a liberal arts education, and how do we bring these things together. It involves technical proficiency, but it also involves thinking about ethics and responsibility and use, and yes, policies that we have to make sure that things are being used responsibly across the campus. So this is a conversation we are actively engaged in. It is, we have leaders on campus who are thinking about how we incorporate this into the curriculum, how we prepare our students for the world today, and how we lean into the liberal arts as an effective, powerful education in a world that is really demanding this of us in this moment. We're excited about Jordan Krauser. He joined us, he joined Kenyon from Smith as the founding director of the Interdisciplinary Computing Program. This fall, he worked with students as part of a course called Introduction to Design Thinking. And part of that was to help the students work with him to think about how do we create a unique and forward-thinking computing program at Kenyon, not a traditional computer science program that is already out of date in many places, right? We're no longer training students to be coders, right? So he is really building very intentionally and with the collaboration of students and faculty across the college, a computing program that is built for this moment. And the group's recommendations from the students class have helped him approach the program, making sure it's broad-based, widely accessible to upperclassmen and non-majors. He's already hired an additional faculty member that we recruited from Williams. And they're also collaborating with him on funded research, including a grant for the Laboratory for Analytical Sciences to develop tools for evaluating whether AI systems can be trusted in real-world decision-making. Stay tuned for the results of that. So we see particular value in the deeper expertise for students as AI becomes more embedded in our everyday lives. And I will note that we just received an additional investment from a former Kenyon trustee and a parent to support even more faculty in this program. We are just about to be joined by new postdoctoral scholars in the computational studies program with a specific focus on AI. And this gift allows us to meaningfully accelerate our progress in this important area so that we can keep pace, prepare our students to design, critique, and responsibly deploy computational systems in this new world. So for more on this subject, keep an eye on your mailboxes. Our cover story on the next Alumni magazine actually features Jordan and the work that he's doing. So you'll have more details and more specifics there on that program.
Thanks, Julie. We're going to drop the email address in the chat if you think you might need to update your address with us so you can make sure you get that Alumni magazine. We also had a question about enrollment this year, particularly among international students from Murray Smith, class of 1975. Julie?
Yeah, you're hitting on all the topics we talk about a lot here at Kenyon, AI and thinking about enrollment. The enrollment landscape, it continues to be challenging. Kenyon, we are working very hard to find ways to stand out. As you heard about the strategic initiatives that you heard about, part of that is really to make sure that we continue to be an attractive destination for students. But you know that decision day was May 1st. So we're pleased to share that with that date behind us, our enrollment numbers are actually slightly ahead of where we were last year. And even the year before that, we're right around 460 see new students who have said yes to Kenyon, and this is great news. We're very excited about that. And it is really the result of months of incredible effort by our enrollment team and the entire campus. One of the things that we did this year, so you know that we often do admitted students days and invite students to campus. We typically do 3 of those days. But what we know is that when students come and visit campus, none of this will surprise you because you love this campus and you know how beautiful it is that when students arrive on campus, they fall in love with Kenyon and they're much more likely to attend if they visit. So this year we doubled the amount of visit days. So instead of hosting 3 admitted students day, we hosted 6. And we hosted over 500 students over in these visit days. And I think it speaks, and we had beautiful weather, which certainly helped us. It was beautiful spring days. It was terrific. But it was a really, I think 2 things that were really notable. One is we invited, the faculty opened up their classes, students, admitted students were, and their parents were invited to tour the campus, have meals in Pierce Hall, meet other students, hear wonderful presentations from students, and attend classes and really spend time on the campus. And it's been, I think, really responsible for the robust enrollment that we're holding onto this year. And that's exciting and really a testament to the enrollment division and all of us on campus who worked really hard to welcome the students. We also did something this year that we hadn't done in many years since before the pandemic, and that was hosting college admissions counselors on campus this year. You can imagine that admissions counselors are very influential in helping students pick and choose colleges with their families. We hosted 40 of them this spring. And one of the really nice things is we asked the counselors before they visited how likely they were to recommend Kenyon to a high school student. And at that time, 48% of them said they would be very likely. And after the completion of the program, almost 100% of them said they would be very likely to recommend Kenyon. So it's really important for us to bring these counselors to campus, for them to see what we do here, for them to meet faculty and to experience Kenyon. Again, not surprising to you, but once you come here, it's an important way to see what we actually do here. So we are really pleased with how the enrollment has landed this spring. We will work very hard over the summer to keep the students here. But it does feel like this year turned out to be a bit more stable than we were hoping for. I think some of that is because of the work that we've done and the continual opportunities that we've had to reach out to students. So I think we feel good, and I want you to feel good that students very much want to still come to Kenyon. The minute we opened up those extra visit days, they sold out. So I think that tells you that Kenyon's reputation remains strong. I think that I'm going to turn that back to you, Kenyon, to you, Keith.
All right. Thanks, Julie. Well, alumni are always invested in helping us create the next strong class. And this year, we were fortunate to be able to welcome prospective students to a few of our alumni events across the country where I know our alumni did a great job raving about Kenyon. So, looking at the clock, we're nearly out of time. If we didn't get to one of your questions, we will follow up with you offline. But we have one last question, and I'm going to pick the one from Sylvan Siedenman, class of 1965. And their question is, with the new initiative to encourage large donations to the endowment fund, is the needle moving substantially?
Is
Julie?
that for me? Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. So I would say, am I allowed to share our results to date on our Third Century Founder Initiative? We celebrated and honored the first 21 donors, and we are 1 year into a 2-year initiative, and the goal is to raise 100 million. We are $66 million into that initiative. So very exciting, I think speaks to the wonderful belief and support that we have from our Kenyon alum to support us. This is really an investment in our future and our sustainability. In this, challenging moment, the colleges that have endowments that will help them through these bumpy moments are really the ones that will come out from this difficult moment stronger. And I think what you see in these donations in the Third Century Founders, among many other donations that we receive from all of our alum, are really a testament to your investment in our education and belief in our future. And the future looks bright. So thank you.
Okay, and with that, we have come to the end of our time together. I apologize if we didn't get to your questions. My many thanks to Pashmina, especially being under the weather, and Ronald, thank you graciously for joining us tonight. Congratulations again to all of our Alumni Award winners, and thank you, Julie. On to commencement and reunion weekend. Good night.
Thank you all. So nice to be with you.